You gotta wait for Tom too.
I have my hair in a ponytail.
Where's Mr. Kagan?
Hair in a ponytail. No makeup. It's nice to meet you.
I know we're live, but do we need to wait for Mr. Kagan?
I mean, I think we can just go ahead. He'll slide in.
All right. Well, that's why I'm just asking, do we have to have him? All right, I'm sorry. Good morning. I would like to call our June 19th called meeting to order this morning. And first we have Mr. Dennis Bellamy here. He will lead us in our invocation and our pledge. We normally have a podium for you to come stand at, but I guess if you can come close to the microphone, that would work. And if you would lead us in our invocation and then followed by our pledge.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Join with me as we go to our Lord in prayer. Most gracious and glorious Lord God, first of all, let us thank you for this day. We thank you for the beautiful sunshine that adorns this day. We thank you for the opportunity to be here today as we pray with our board today, all our members. Pray that you'll continue to lead, guide, and direct them and direct their thoughts as they make the right decisions for our Paulding County youth. And as always, we thank you for what you do. We continue to give you love, honor, and glory. And we pray, amen. Join me in pledging allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. First, I need a motion to adopt our agenda for today.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Nolan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Clayton. Any discussion? All in favor of adopting our agenda, please raise your hands. It is unanimous. Okay. Our board attorney is not here just yet.
Go into a brief recess.
Yeah, I think that's probably a wise thing to do, just in case I have questions. So we're going to take a brief recess, and I'm sure he's probably in the parking lot headed, up here. But if we're just to take a brief recess, and we'll reconvene as soon as he's here. Thank you. All right, we are back, and we are going to go ahead and get started. At this time, we are here to conduct interviews for our District 5 board vacancy. We will be individually asking our applicants interview questions that have been provided for us. You guys all should have a copy of the applicants' or the interview questions, so you can feel free to take notes as we do conduct these interviews. I would like to remind board members, and while you're both here, you will know that with each question, if a board member has a follow-up question, you can feel free to ask those questions. But please just remember that we need to be consistent and ask every applicant the same questions. So if you ask one, ask the other. Also, it's, as we talked about on Tuesday, it is our desire to immediately following the interview process, unless someone needs more time, but if it's possible, we would like to go ahead and make that decision following that. So just keep that in mind as we go through the process. Our applicants drew numbers just to see who gets to go first, and Ms. Andra Paulding will go first, and then Ms. Trudy Sauer will follow. At this time, is everybody ready to proceed? Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, as a point of order, just for the record, do you mind just restating how we got here to this process? And I think until we actually vote and fill the seat, I think we'd be remiss not to talk about the process and how we got here and why we're doing this. And obviously, we're filling the seat of a real good man and a friend of ours.
Absolutely. As many of you know, on May 14th, John Dean, who held the seat for the Board of Education for District 5, passed away after a long battle with cancer. He is genuinely already missed and will be continued to be missed. Great man. I think we all took some time at that next meeting following that to do a little tribute of our thoughts and experiences with him. But at this time, we are mandated by the state to make a decision within 45 days of the vacancy, which is June 27th. The initial phase was to do advertisements, let the public know that the position was available. The ads ran for 3 weeks in the Dallas New Era. It was on our website. It was posted on Facebook and lots of other social media venues. We had numerous people to respond. In fact, we had a couple that thought they lived in the district, but actually didn't. But we had 7 applicants that we all on Tuesday evaluated and narrowed down those 7 applicants to 2 individuals that we chose to interview, and that is Ms. Andra Paulding and Ms. Trudy Sauer. So we are here today for the next stage in that process, and that is, again, to ask those interview questions and make a decision to identify the next board member for District 5. Did I get everything? Anything I missed?
I would just like to say that every one of the, I just would like to say that every one of the applications that we received were wonderful people, and any one of them could do a fabulous job, as well as either one of these lovely ladies. And I'm just very grateful that we had that many people that are willing to serve our students in this county.
Absolutely, I agree. All right, if everyone is ready to proceed at this time, Mr. Gregatis, if you would take Ms. Sauer to the holding room, so to speak. Are there lights on in there now? Good.
You can go with her.
All right. Now, Ms. Paulding, if you would come to the table.
Don't be nervous.
Please.
Okay.
Then you get here, draw number 1.
How are you doing today?
Fine, how are you?
Great. I want to reiterate what Ms. Lyons said. We did have a great number of applicants, and we do appreciate your interest in serving the school district and the citizens of Paulding County. We do appreciate that. You took the initiative to take that step up, and we're excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Again, I am going to ask a series of about 10 questions. There are some of them that are 2 parts. I'll let you know that up front if there's 2 parts. And then at the end of each question, I'll make sure that if any board member has a follow-up question, they'll ask that at that point. Okay? You ready to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, our first question is an easy one. It just says, briefly describe your background, your experiences, and personal attributes that you believe make you the best fit to serve on the Paulding County Board of Education.
How are you? I taught in Paulding County for 32 years. I started out at Paulding County High School when it was the only high school in the county. I moved to Herschel Jones Middle School with Mr. Sammy McClure for about 17, 18 years. I then moved to Union Elementary and taught 5th grade for the first time. Then I moved back to East Paulding and I taught at East Paulding Middle School, and I retired from Scoggins Middle School out where I live. I've lived out in District 5 since 1995. My husband was from Paulding County. I was not. I was a cheer coach for 20 years in Paulding County. So I was involved in raising money and talking to parents and going to competitions and doing things for the football team, the basketball team, and the soccer team, and the softball team. And so I work well with parents. I'm a great fundraiser. I work well with students. I believe one of my abilities as far as students and parents is that I can put myself in their place. I've had 2 students that have come through Paulding County Schools. I'm really 66, but at heart, I'm just 13. So I know what the 13-year-old is thinking, but I know what the 66-year-old says we should do. So I think one of the attributes that I have is I'm able to fit in nicely with whomever.
Okay. Can we either move that microphone so that make sure, can you slide
just
that
slide right
microphone
to it.
closer to you, just so that we can hear? All right.
Is that better?
Is that better, everybody?
Yeah, that way the public can hear.
Yeah. Great. All right. Did anybody have a follow-up question? That one? Nope. All right. Your next, number 2. What is your understanding of the role of an individual board member and the board as a whole?
Individual board members should support their superintendent and the other board members in making decisions. As a teacher, my idea of the board was these are the people who decided how to spend my money, my tax money. These are the people who kept us going. When we went from one high school to 6, 5, I was like, oh my God, bless their hearts. When we have a new subdivision that comes in with 690 new homes and people are at capacity, my hat's off to you, because I always thought, bless their hearts, I don't know how they decide where they find the money to make it work, but you always have. In my 32 years, I've never been without supplies or needs or, I've never been without a room. One time, but it was, you just moved, so it was not a big deal. So, but just to support you, support the members, support the superintendent, be honest, and I can give you my perspective from the classroom.
Okay. Anybody have a follow-up with that? All right. Number 3. Serving on the Board of Education involves much more than just attending our monthly or bi-monthly meetings. It requires a commitment to being well-informed about our district programs, budgets, and policies and procedures, and governance best practices. How are you prepared to dedicate the time necessary to become a knowledgeable and effective board member?
Well, being retired, all I do is study to learn. I am a lifelong learner. I talk to people daily. I still have many friends in the school system, from elementary all the way through high school. I listen to them. I served as a long-term sub right after I retired. I served the rest of this lady's year. I've served as a student teacher, as a supply teacher for people. I've been a substitute. I think I'm prepared to study, learn, find out, ask questions, listen, with a full-service heart.
again. Anybody have a follow-up? Number 4. I'm sorry, Ms. Lyons, did you? Okay, number 4, are you willing and able to actively engage with local schools by volunteering at events such as Read Across America, Special Olympics, any other school-based activities? And there is a follow-up to that one. We'll ask that simple question first.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right. Our follow-up is, how do you view the importance of a board member it being present at these type of events?
Extremely important. I've been to those events. I've helped with special ed. I've helped with Relay for Life. I've helped with, like I said, football, cheerleading. But I've been to events where there were no board members, and I've wondered why no one showed up today, because I was kind of looking. This is years past, but I think it's very important that our board's out there actively with adults, with the community, working to serve.
Okay. Anybody have a follow-up?
I do on that one. And my question is, it's the inverse of that. Are you able to disengage with local school groups such as Red Cross Special Olympics, given that the Board of Education has oversight for a lot of organizations? So being present and participating, but not being a member or being actively involved, because ultimately the Board of Education has oversight for most all organizations. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. I think I can actively disengage while engaging. Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, number 5. This position requires public advocacy on behalf of our school district. That includes the collaboration with other elected officials. Are you prepared to communicate, collaborate, and engage with the community, county officials, and our state legislators in support of the district's mission and vision?
Absolutely. I support the superintendent and the board in all their decisions. Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody have a follow-up?
I do. What if one of those missions or positions is in direct conflict with your position?
My position doesn't matter. It's the position of the board and the business.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Number 6, halfway there. Number 6, the Paulding County School District is widely recognized as one of the key reasons that families with children choose to live in our community, has been for many, many years. While we take pride in our strengths, continuous improvement is essential. Please identify one area where you believe the district could grow or improve and explain your rationale.
This is be honest time, too.
You're a teacher in the classroom, so, or you were a teacher.
Unfortunately, we don't have many businesses in Paulding County to help provide finances to our school system. For a million years, my husband was a business owner in Paulding County. He had 3 businesses, and we worked those 3 businesses, plus taught school and had kids and did all the others. But I firmly believe that Paulding County could, if we could get some business here to help us financially, it would definitely help. And it starts small. It doesn't have to be a conglomerate Apple business. It could just be something small, and we start there.
Okay. Anybody got anything for that one?
Yeah. Anything specifically with the school district, not an outside pressure like the business, like the finances? I'm talking about anything we could do to be better.
When I was in the classroom for 32 years, I felt like the board did most everything we needed. You know, I remember one year it was our time for English to adopt textbooks, and people were all tore up because we weren't going to get the money to adopt textbooks that year. We were going to have to put it off, postpone it. And I was like, we teach English language arts. Like, English is English, grammar is grammar, literature is literature. We have a library filled with books. We don't necessarily have to have a new book. As a matter of fact, I used a literature book that I left at Scoggins that I had been using since 1993. My students thought that book was a high school book, and I was like, no, this was an 8th grade English book. I just happened to save 40 of them. So they were like, this is college? And I was like, no, it's just, so I believe we have the resources. I don't think that the board ever let me down as a teacher, not in my planning time, not in my, because I'm a workaholic. I was there till 8 o'clock. My husband passed away. My children are grown. So I work all the time. But you did a great job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 7, how would you approach building consensus and collaboration with your fellow board members, particularly when you disagree on a certain issue?
I love to have engaging conversation, meaningful conversation, so that I can see a different perspective other than my own. So I think just collaborating and discussing and talking and keeping an open mind, I could definitely, you know, it wouldn't matter what my opinion was. I have to go with the opinion of the superintendent and the board. I feel like you can talk things through. I can learn why you feel this way. We can discuss it.
Okay. Everybody good? Good. Number 8, if the board as a whole, it's kind of along the same lines, does not vote in line with your position, how would you handle public inquiries regarding the vote and the decision-making process, including any relevant discussions or privileged information that is shared during executive session?
Privileged information is not shared with other people outside the board. You support the superintendent and the board as a whole, period.
Okay.
My thoughts and feelings don't necessarily apply.
So if
It's the
some,
consensus.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question before the follow-up question, but, you know, let's say you're approached, whether it's as you walk out the door or you're in your day-to-day, and you don't agree with the decision that the board made, and someone approaches you about that, how do you respond to that individual?
Do those individuals know that I didn't agree?
If there is a vote, they'll know you voted, it's public.
Well, first you asked for things that were privileged.
She answered that.
Oh, okay, so this is, okay.
Again, I don't think it's my job to explain to somebody else. They could watch the video, they could listen to the minutes, they could listen to the board. I don't think it's my job to tell other people to try to explain my views when the board decided as a whole what was best.
Okay. And then there is a follow-up question for that. It says, what does your response reveal about your approach to leadership, confidentiality, and public accountability? And I think you may have answered that, but we'll just add it to it again.
Confidentiality is number one. What goes on in here, what goes on in private is private. The decisions that the superintendent and the board make are those decisions that are best for the students and the parents and the faculty of Paulding County. It's not for me to discuss how I feel, how you feel with people outside the area. I'm supporting the superintendent and the board's decisions.
Okay. Now, does anybody else have a follow-up on that? All right, number 9. An example of an upcoming board policy decision that we have to make relates to the use of technology in the classroom. There was recently passed a Distraction-Free Education Act, which requires school boards to adopt a policy on student cell phone use. That's coming up very soon. What is your view on technology in the classroom, including cell phones, not limited to, but including cell phones? And how would you help develop this policy and address any public concerns? I guess you can start by what's your opinion of phone use in the classroom and then technology.
It is very difficult for a teacher in a classroom when you've got 30 kids in there to, even if you're walking continuously, to monitor what's on a cell phone. It's almost impossible, because the second you walk away, they're shooting selfies or texting somebody answers to a test in another classroom, and you just can't see it all on a cell phone. We've been lucky in this county fortunate in this county that we've had technology provided to us. We've got laptops we check out. Those are much safer in my classroom with 8th grade students than cell phones ever were. I'm not opposed to technology in the classroom, but I am a firm believer. We have to teach children how to read, how to answer questions, what did the question say, and how to write a response. So they need to know not only how technology works, but then how to apply the things they learn, things they're supposed to learn, to everyday life outside the classroom.
Okay. There is a follow-up to this one. It says, how would you approach future education-related legislation that could impact the district?
About the cell phone issue or any issue?
Well, this one is in relative, again, we've got this coming up. By January, we have to have this policy in place. Not worried about that, but just your thoughts on future education-related, and it could be first about technology, but anything if you want to add that.
As far as approaching legislatures, I feel like that whatever the consensus of my county was, that's what I'm to take to legislatures or senators or people in the community, builders, other leaders. That's what my job is. My job is to support the board and the superintendent. That's my job.
Okay. Now, does anybody have a follow-up on that? All right. This one's easy. Last one. Is there anything that we didn't ask you, but you would like for us to know that would help us make this important decision?
Some of you know me and some of you don't. I have a servant's heart. I am a workhorse. I have nothing in my heart or my mind except the student's best interest. I was not a conventional teacher. Every child learns differently. I was the child jumping out the window in elementary school to go back to the recess. I know that. I had students come to my classroom that would be angry from another class. When I had a trailer, I had a little boy who was a football player, and he would run around my trailer so many times before he came in because he was mad at the science teacher. So we'd watch him run around the trailer, everybody would report, the doors were open, and he'd just come in and sit down, and then he'd be ready. I didn't have to say another word. So I think you have to, as far as, you have to be willing to look at the child and see what they need. You know, I've had children I fed, I've had children I clothed, I've had children I've made home visits to, which we weren't required to do. I've stayed at the school till 8 o'clock to figure out what this kid's interested in. I've gone to the media center and met with the media specialist to find out what books we might could pull for them. So I have a big heart for student success, for parents who have questions, who need help, and for my community.
Okay.
I have a big heart.
Okay. All right. All right. Is there anything else that you guys, any other questions, anything before we're good? Again, thank you so much for taking the time. At this time, we're going to get Mr. Gagatis to have you, are we having her wait, or does she? It's up to you, I guess, at this point.
I can wait, yeah. I'm
appreciate
retired.
you coming in this morning and doing this.
Thank you.
I sat in your very chair. That's just how I was appointed to the board my first term. So it was not easy, and it was nerve-wracking. So
Yes.
Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
But it's funny you talked about being in a trailer.
It's not off the record.
But I've never seen a teacher in my life that embraced being in a
Oh, yeah.
trailer. It was her cottage.
It was called the Mobile Mansion. So people knew, and people would send kids out there that were in trouble, and they would just say, is this the Mobile Mansion? I was like, absolutely, come on in.
Yes.
So yeah, it was fine with me.
I know. Just whatever role.
Exactly.
Thank you again
Whatever
so
role.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry I was late.
Okay, we're going to take a brief recess before we step back in with Ms. Sauer. All right. We are back now with Ms. Trudy Sauer. First, I want to thank you so much for your interest and for coming in today to, first of all, to be a board member, but to serve this community, our students and our citizens as well. I do appreciate that very, very much. We all do. I would, kind of the procedure's going to be, we got about 10 questions. There's a couple that have follow-up, and then each board member will have an opportunity to ask you a follow-up question if need. And there are some, so
Okay.
we'll have a few. And I guess is everybody ready? All right, we'll start with our first question. Briefly describe your background, experiences, and personal attributes that you believe make you to be the best fit to serve on the Paulding County Board of Education. Briefly.
Okay, right, okay. Started as a parapro when a friend called and asked if I wanted to be a para in kindergarten. I didn't even know what that was. And so, but the kids were in kindergarten, and so I didn't have anything to do. I loved it. I went back to school and got my degree in education. And from there, I have had nothing but wonderful experiences teaching every grade, K through 8, except 4th and 2nd. So anyway, from there, I became an assistant administrator. All this was in Cobb. Then a principal was moved after 4 years to supervise the other principals at the elementary level, then at the middle school level, then into the central office as an assistant there to the superintendent. My primary responsibility there was with the board. I worked directly with the board. I prepared the agenda each meeting. I was the lobbyist for Cobb County. I went to the legislature and was responsible for bringing back to the board an interpretation of what was going on. It was a little easier back then. Speaker Murphy was from Bremen, and so I could easily walk into his office whenever I needed to, and he'd say, "Hon, what do you need?" It's not that way anymore. So you know it better than most. After that, Sis Henry with School Boards Association had been asking me to come to work and run the risk management division there. So I was worn out, and in September of '07, I told the board that I would be retiring at the end of the year. That was a hard call, but I absolutely loved this place. I had come over in '96 as assistant soup for HR, and then became associate and took over as superintendent in September of '99 as the interim, and was named superintendent in January of 2000. 8 years was wonderful. These were the greatest people in the world to work with. I think we came a long way. A lot of the challenges that Steve and this board are facing right now are the same challenges that we had. The difference is you guys there's so many different layers on top of that now. So I think the job is more difficult for Steve than it was for me. But anyway, you guys support him, and that's the way it should be. And I want to add this, and I'm going to go ahead and do it right now. I want you to know that I did call Steve and talk to him, because a superintendent's worst nightmare is to have a board member who wants to be superintendent. It really is. And so I wanted to assure him that my motives are pure. I don't want to be superintendent. I don't want to deal with the things that he deals with day in and day out. But a board member has a different role, entirely different, as you well know. So I'll stop there. How about that?
All right. The second question, what is your understanding of the role of an individual Board of Education member and then the board as a whole? You sort of answered that, but we'll put it specific.
Okay. The board is involved in policy development. They're involved in approval of personnel reports. I'm assuming you also have approval still of contracts and things like that. So those are the kinds of things that board members do as a board. Individually, you do represent your district, but you have no power unless you are seated as the board. You are a citizen like everyone else. And that's the way I look at it. Believe you me, Sis Henry drilled that into us.
All right. Serving on the Board of Education involves much more than just attending monthly or bi-monthly meetings. It requires a commitment to becoming well-informed about district programs, budgets, policies and procedures, and governance best practices. How are you prepared to dedicate the time necessary to become a knowledgeable and an effective board member?
Well, anybody who knows me knows that if I take something on, I take it on. And you have to, or you shouldn't be putting yourself out there. So that should not be a problem.
Are you willing and able to actively engage with local schools by volunteering at events such as Read Across America, Special Olympics, and other school-based activities? And then I'm going to go ahead and give you the follow-up to that is, how do you view the importance of a board member being present at these type of events?
I think you have to be, and you probably saw in my resume as well, I worked with the EMC, their foundation board, and we did a lot of volunteering and did scholarships. I would go and deliver, you may have seen some of the grants that we did to the schools. If you were a member of the Carroll EMC, teachers were eligible. I would go and share that information with teachers and then deliver the grants. And so did things like that. After that, I became president of the Farm Bureau And Doug had been an officer there for years, and so I came on the board, and I said, Doug had been saying, we need to get the money out the door. So we became much more involved with the school district in supporting the things that they were doing in the area of agriculture. And my sole goal in taking that on was to strengthen the relationship we had with the school district. I met with your science folks, and we committed to supporting financially their FFA Day, Ag Day at the Capitol and things like that. So you've got to continually build bridges with other agencies in support of our education system. So I've done that, got no problem doing it.
Okay. Mr. Chester, you had a follow-up.
Yeah.
On this one. Can you ask that again?
Sure. It's in the same vein, the question is, are you willing and able to actively disengage with local schools and organizations such as Red Cross Special Olympics, given the Board of Education's oversight over those type of organizations? So differentiate between being present, like all board members are, and then disengaging from being actively a member and part of those type of organizations.
Yes. I'm not on that board. I'm no longer on the Farm Bureau board, and no longer on the EMC board. Of those, it was 2 3-year terms for the EMC and then the Farm Bureau.
I think you might have misunderstood.
Okay.
I think what he's asking is as a board member, we have oversight. Can you disengage can you be present but not run that show?
Absolutely.
Make sense?
Absolutely. Not a problem.
Okay, good deal.
Okay. Number 5, this position requires public advocacy on behalf of the school district, including collaboration with other elected officials. Are you prepared to communicate, collaborate, and engage with the community? That's county officials, state legislators, in support of the district's mission and vision.
Absolutely. No problem.
And then I believe you had a question from that one.
Oh, yeah, I asked,
What if it's in direct conflict?
what if it's in direct, what if we need as a board for you to advocate something that's within direct conflict with your personal belief?
I have to function as, would have to be a part of this board. So whatever this board's position is becomes my position.
Number 6, the Paulding County School District is widely recognized as one of the key reasons families with children choose to live in our community. It's been for many, many years. While we take pride in our strengths, continuous improvement is essential. If you could identify one area where you believe that the district could grow or improve, and then explain your rationale for this suggestion.
I think that we probably need to tell our story in a strong way. Because if you don't tell your own story, then I think other people tell it for you. And so I just think we need to, especially, we're going to have to gear up because HB 581 is going to come back in a new reiteration, I feel sure. And I think they've made it abundantly clear that they were not happy that so many districts opted out. And so I think we're going to have to do a really good job as a district in talking about the good things that we're doing so that people appreciate it more than they do.
Okay. Number 7, how would you approach building a consensus and collaborating with your fellow board members, and particularly when you disagree on certain issues?
I think you have to have an open conversation. Just lay it out there. Let's talk about it. What are your views? This is what I'm thinking. And you've got to have open dialogue.
Okay. Number 8, if the board as a whole does not vote in line with your position, how would you handle public inquiries regarding the vote and the decision-making process, including any relevant discussions or privileged information that may have been shared in executive session?
You don't discuss it. You just don't discuss what goes on in executive session. You don't, we become one as a board.
Okay, there's a follow-up question to that. What does your response reveal about your approach to leadership, confidentiality, and public accountability?
Okay, repeat that, please.
Sure. Your response, which is don't discuss things that happen in executive session, and then we are one as a board. What does that response reveal about your approach to leadership, confidentiality, and public accountability?
Well, I've got to think about that for a second. We are a team, and that's been my leadership style. It's all of us together. It's not one monkey ain't no show, okay? And we have to work together. We all have the same goal. And so we can't let there ever be a perception that there's a chink in the armor. We're all together. We are all about the same end. So, and then you've got to maintain confidentiality. I mean, that's just a given.
Okay. Number 9, an example of an upcoming board policy decision relates to the use of technology in the classroom. The recently passed Distraction-Free Education Act requires that school boards adopt a policy on student cell phone use. What is your view on technology in the classroom, including cell phones? Not limited to, but including cell phones. And how would you help develop this policy and address any public concerns?
Well, Tom knows I fought that for a long time. I kept saying, we don't need phones in the classrooms. It's going to be a distraction. And lo and behold, years later, our legislators agree. So I know that the School Boards Association will likely, if they haven't already sent you copies, will send copies of sample policies to go from. I think it's going to take an awful lot of discussion and work with the community because a lot of parents want those kids to have phones. I think the Marietta City Schools has done a really good job in their implementation, so they may be somebody that Steve would want to talk to, or I don't know what their policy is. I haven't looked that up. But there'll be some samples that come out there. And I totally agree that the cell phones have to be dealt with in the classroom. As far as other technology, teachers, they have a huge responsibility now in monitoring and maintaining the attention of the kids with the technology, but I think they probably do a good job here. I don't know. I haven't been in a classroom in a while, so anyhow.
Follow-up question on that is, how would you approach future education-related legislation that may impact the district, referencing technology and anything for that matter?
How would I approach?
How would you approach future education-related legislation that would affect the classroom?
Well, I think we have to clearly communicate what the proposed legislation is, the impact it will have on our district. I know, kudos to you guys with your budget. You got hit for $10 million this year. The equalization was 5, and I think your health insurance 4 and change, and TRS $1 million and change. So they have to understand that their decisions are going to impact the kids, and we've got to clearly communicate what that impact's going to be.
Okay. Last question. Is there anything that we didn't ask you, but you would like for us to know that would help us in making this difficult decision?
The only thing is, I came out here in '96 and fell in love with this place. And I'm proud of where this district is. They've kept moving, and you've got to pat yourselves on the back because you have a difficult job. I know, Nick, you've been on here a long time. Teresa, you've been on here a long time. So you know of what I speak. So kudos to Steve and his leadership, Cliff before him, and all the way back. But you've kept it moving, and you deserve credit.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If Mr. Gregatus is close by, he will escort you back, if you don't mind just hanging out for just a few minutes. Thank you. I would like to make a motion to amend our agenda, if everybody is in agreement. I think we'd love to go ahead and make this decision at this time, so we have a couple of options, but can I, if you guys are in agreement, can I make a motion, and I'll need a second, to amend the agenda to, at this time, have a discussion and a vote to appoint a board member for District 5.
I'll second that
Madam
motion.
Chair? Mm-hmm. Is it, so discussion is one item, and then an action item would be the actual vote?
Correct.
So,
So can I make a motion to do both at the same time? Okay.
okay.
So I am making a motion to have discussion if need be. If there is no discussion, we don't have to do that, but at least put it on the agenda that we'll have a discussion, and followed by an action item of the vote to appoint. And so I have a motion.
And I will second.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of amending the agenda to add this, please raise your hands. It is unanimous. All right, so at this time, obviously that completed our interview process. So we've got a couple of options. Again, we can go into, if anybody has anything that they want to discuss, we can discuss that now, and then followed by a action item to make a decision. So does anybody have any discussion?
A couple of things.
Yes.
Just for the record, I want to make sure that I say publicly thank you to everyone who applied. It's not lost on me, and I know the rest of my board members, that less than 5% of the entire population of our country ever runs for elected office. And then I think we're at probably 2% that will actually serve in public capacity. So, when you think about the 300 million U.S. citizens, and you start thinking about those percentages, and then in Georgia, then, it's no small thing to run for public office and to serve in public office. So everybody who applied, I want to personally say thank you, and it's recognized what kind of sacrifice that is. So.
Thank you. I think we all agree with that. Any other discussion?
Well, I guess
Ms. Lyons, you got to turn your microphone on. They won't be able to hear you on TV.
does everyone already have their mind made up?
We are, at this point, we're about, if there's no other discussion, I'm going to take, well, actually, we have a motion to do that. So the next step would be to move to our action items, and that would be to make that decision. If anyone does not feel that they're in a position to make a decision at this time, then we're going to have to do, I guess we would amend again to hold off.
You'll have to take a vote first on both candidates. And if either candidate doesn't reach a majority, then at that point, you would have to reassess the situation. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to amend the agenda.
In other words, if you didn't reach a decision, if, in other words, union discussion, you decided, let's just not decide today, you just, when you got to the action item, you would just either table
Not
it,
decide,
or- so you don't- but you don't have to amend the agenda.
All right, okay. So that, I mean, does that clear up?
Yeah, I'd just like to know how everyone felt about the candidates, and if we need to talk about it.
Well, I know I can say that, number one, we have two very strong candidates.
Yeah.
We had 7 very good candidates, but we have 2 strong candidates. Unless there is discussion further at this point, I'm ready to take a motion for an appointment, unless there's further questions or discussion. Yes,
A point of order.
yes.
I think we go around the horn and we can all speak about it, and then we can, in my opinion, move to just voting. So as part of the discussion, I would say, I appreciate the process, appreciate the work you've done, Madam Chair, to get us here. I think we have strong candidates. I'm happy to have heard from both of them, but I have enough information at this time to make a decision this morning and vote.
Okay,
That's my,
all right, so then, I'll go around the room, if everybody's good with that, if you've got something that you want to say. No, I'm not asking, at this point, there's not a motion to nominate or to appoint, but just if anybody wants to have something to say.
Madam Chair, just for clarification, there still may be discussion on the individual candidates after there's a motion and a
Correct.
second. So it's not precluding the discussion. This is primarily, sounds like more a discussion as to whether everybody's ready to go forward today. So, makes sense.
So we're not going to discuss anything before someone makes a motion?
This is a discussion to make to decide
This is
whether
the
y'all are
discussion.
in consensus to go ahead, because you have it on an agenda
Oh.
for next week. So this is kind of a discussion as to whether you got enough information to make the decision today. If you do, then someone would make a motion to appoint a particular person, a second, and then there would be discussion then on those persons.
Steve, can I ask Steve a question?
Just remember, this is, go ahead.
It's not confidential, though, you're
Yeah,
in
this is
an
not,
open
this,
session, so,
we're in open.
but yeah, you can ask.
I really would like to ask you what your preference, but I'm not going to do that.
Well, first of all, right now, I think all the chair's trying to get at is whether the board has enough information to make a decision today. Whatever that decision is, that's the first question that's kind of out there.
Well, does anyone have any conflict on which one they're going to choose? I mean, do we need to talk about that?
Well, like I said, I think to make right now.
Let's do this, okay? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Let's do this. Mr. Chester has stated that he has gathered enough information to make his decision. Let's go individually to see if you have made, each person will say whether or not you have enough information yourself. Again, you vote individually, but we are one. So do you have enough information to make a decision today?
I'm still conflicted.
Okay?
Because, like you said, they're both pretty strong. And there's a lot that, because I've known both of those women for 30 years, 25 years, whatever. And there's so much more good things about them. I don't think that we really got who they are. In 10 minutes, how do you really get how someone, who a person is? But we see both of them, they have a heart to serve. And, you know, they have different experiences to bring to the table. And, you know, I just wonder how we all could work with each individual. I think we all could work with either one. And I think Mr. Barnett could work with either one. I'm very conflicted. I have to be careful about what I say, but it would be hard for me as a superintendent have a former superintendent work with me. That would be a little bit hard, but I don't know. But there are also other things that come to play, and there's a whole lot, and I thought about it a whole lot, and, I mean, I do think either one of them would be wonderful. I'd like to be, at a unified board. But I also, don't know that I agree with everyone, so,
At this point, you're not comfortable making a decision.
I think we need to, because you're in our town, right? Well,
Is that a true statement? Or you,
let's go around the room.
okay,
Come back
Mr.
to
Nolan?
I have what I need.
Mr. Fuller?
I'm good to proceed.
Mr. Clayton?
I'm ready to proceed.
Okay, I am as well. I will 100% agree with everything that you said in the sense of we have two very good candidates. I'm excited that, and I'm just going to be quite honest, when this process started, I was apprehensive. It was slow to trickle in the resumes, and I was beginning to think that we really wouldn't have much of a choice. So I was super excited to see that we had 7 individuals that stepped up. We were able to identify 2 very strong candidates. I'm excited to have, and I think that our teachers are going to be excited to have an opportunity to have someone on this board that has education as their background. I think we all bring something to the table. I do agree that I think we can work with either one of these individuals, but we are at a time where we have to make a decision. Mr. Dean is going to be a difficult person to replace, but I think both of these ladies could do that job. For me, today helped me to formulate an opinion, and I think from what it sounds like, everyone else as well. So we do have a difficult job. They both said we had a difficult job to do, but we do need to move forward and make a decision to identify this person.
I think my conflict is I don't want to be the one dissenting vote. But I have my reasons for,
And you have every right for that.
so,
You don't have to explain that. It's not necessary.
If we're ready to make, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we're ready, as a general board, we're ready to make a decision, I need a motion. No, we have that motion. All I need is for someone to,
Well, I'll make a motion to call the question on the discussion page, and then
Okay.
that'll, the portion, and then we can move into the action item.
all right, do we have a second?
Second.
May I, point of order? Did we not have a motion and a second on the table? We didn't.
I don't think you did.
No, we already passed the motion.
passed that.
We're in the discussion part of the amended part. Okay, I got it,
Correct.
I'm sorry.
And my motion is to call the question on the discussion.
Yeah, in
Gotcha.
the discussion.
Okay.
All right, so, and we have a first, and who did the second?
I did.
Okay, Mr. Chester. All in favor of a call to question? Okay, that is unanimous. Okay, so now we move into the action items, or action item, and that would be to appoint a candidate for District 5 board member. So does anyone want to make a motion of who to appoint?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to appoint Trudy Sauer.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Mr. Clayton made a motion to appoint Trudy Sauer, and Mr. Chester made the second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of appointing Trudy Sauer as our District 5 board member, please raise your hand. It is unanimous, 6-0. Ms. Trudy Sauer is approved to be appointed as our new board member for District 5. At this point, I can need a motion to adjourn. Yes,
Madam Chair, before, point of privilege, really quick.
yes.
I just want to, I remembered this, so I wanted to bring it up before I forget, actually. A couple of things. We hadn't had this in a minute, but I think it's worth saying. When we have new board members, we do a little musical chairs, and the newest board member doesn't sit on the end. They always sit either next to the chair or next to the board attorney. So they're incorporated within, not sitting on the outside. You do it for a lot of organizations, but you put them right in the middle for a lot of reasons. So, you know, that's number one. And then number two, because we hadn't had this in a while, the newest board member, at the chair's discretion, is always responsible for organizing the pastor for our invocation, or if we're not going to use ROTC for pledge, so, you know, unless the vice chair,
That's dirty pool, Mr. Chester.
unless the vice chair just wants to do it, that's always a privilege we extend to the newest member. So put them in the middle and
I've got an Excel spreadsheet I will hand over in about 30
And
seconds.
here's the funny thing, Ms. Chester, if I switch seats with Ms. Sauer, you put me down there, it's gonna do this. So you gotta balance that out.
yeah. So,
All right. Well, we can certainly have that change in seating arrangements at our next meeting. We will have, Ms. Sauer will be, I think you've got the judge lined up to have her sworn in, and hopefully we'll be able to attend our next meeting on Tuesday, June 24th. The June 23rd meeting is no longer necessary, so we will not have that called meeting. If hearing nothing else,
I do have one thing for Mr. Barnett. I know that originally our meeting on Monday, we won't have to have that anymore, and I believe the swearing in was set up with the probate judge for that afternoon. Now that,
or the next morning.
or the next morning, is there a way possibly to check with Judge Woodall's office to see if that can be moved maybe till tomorrow? That gives the Dallas New Era time to get it in next week's paper, because if you do it on Monday, they'll go to print Monday. So if there was a way to move that process up, it's just an idea, you know, if we can make contact tomorrow or later, tomorrow.
and actually, I got a question on that, and Tom, you correct me if I'm wrong. A Superior Court judge could swear in any elected official, correct?
I just spoke with Judge Woodall because she's sworn in most of you, but I
Yeah.
don't think anybody could do it. I'll ask her first, since we've already kind of lined, she was already willing to do it. unless-
She's never sworn me in.
Well, she's a new judge.
Well, but it was always Deborah, and
Well,
then,
the probate
and then it
judge.
was, gosh, one of the, Dean, I think, maybe.
Bucci?
Judge
Any
Bucci?
of the Superior Court judges could have
Yeah.
sworn in if you didn't make the one.
Oh, and, what is the senior judge? He's the one who did it one time. You know which one I'm talking about?
He retired, though.
Yeah, he retired.
Yeah, Judge Beavers.
Beavers, yeah, it was Beavers.
So my recommendation would be for expediency purposes, you know, we've got to get the people's business accomplished. So I know traditionally probate judge, but seeing as any of our judges have the authority, and today is, you know,
They could do
Thursday.
it today. I think it'd be nice if any of us could go and be there with her when she got sworn in. I think that.
If you could,
Thank you.
tomorrow morning would be great.
We have to get the oath over there, and we just need to make arrangements with somebody. Unless y'all tell me not to, I'd start with Judge Woodall, because she's already
Yeah.
said she
Yeah.
would do it. Of
course.
Yeah, definitely. And then just, if you will let us know. So anyone that can be there to support would be great.
You're gonna try it for today?
I doubt we'll be able to do it today, because we gotta get the oath.
Well, and Trudy said she has to go to Carrollton for a doctor's appointment at 11, so
Oh,
I doubt she
okay,
could get out
okay.
there and then get
Yeah.
back, and
So, well, maybe later this afternoon.
Do we need to check with the candidate?
Probably the best way.
she might have changed her mind sitting back there and don't want it anymore. You know, we gotta make sure she still wants to do it.
Madam Chair, you asked for a motion to adjourn, and I'm going to make that motion.
Thank you.
second that motion.
Second. All right. And I just wrote the wrong. All right, so we have,
By the left side of the room.
yeah, I was going to say, we have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Chester, a second by everybody on the left side of the room. All in favor? Please raise your hands. It is unanimous.